Hey, welcome, Purple People podcast fans. Welcome to this week's show. My name is Kyle Smith. It is January 15th. I am here with Kyle West. How are you, sir?
Hey, we're ready to steer this ship into the off season.
I thought you were going to say into the iceberg.
Well, it wasn't that bad of a season, so we avoided the iceberg, even though it didn't quite end the way we had hoped.
No, it's a Viking season. It's a slow leak that eventually
you have to slow leak. Stick your thumb in it.
That's a fake wheeled way.
How is Adam Carlson doing today?
I'm doing all right.
There you go. Well, I'm glad we got the band together for this one. I won't say the final episode of this podcast, but the final episode for this season. As you can see at the bottom there, it is episode 378, Garoppolypse Now. What a game.
Garoppolypse Now.
This weekend, guys.
I'm just picturing Garoppolo's lips.
Yeah, we could have named it that. He's a pretty man.
That's a solid title, though.
I stole
Not
it.
bad.
I steal all of these. All right. I'm not creative like Adam. I do know some of these movies. Obviously, this is for Apocalypse Now, but I am not creative enough to figure out these. So I do a lot of Googling, and we're just going to keep going through the fantasy football names until we run out.
And you didn't go with Kittles and Bits, huh?
Yeah, I wanted to do something with Kittle. We should have did something with like Bosa or somebody, because they were the dominant ones in this game. But
Oh, that guy. I got plenty to say about that guy.
that's a grown man right there.
Yeah, also someone who does not appreciate fair sportsmanship.
It's true.
Someone of his talent level does not need to be making decisions like that.
Agreed.
Yeah, like he's way too talented to be doing that kind of shit.
I am
get
completely blind to this, so I am excited to hear about this because I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Oh, he was the one with the blindside hit on Brian O'Neill.
Mhm.
That concussed him, knocked him out of the game.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Before that hit on Brian O'Neill, he had only had one pressure on Kirk Cousins.
I know what you're talking about. Never mind. I thought there were comments made of some sort.
I mean, he took advantage of Rashad Hill, just posterized him after that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Brian O'Neill was giving him everything that he had, and it was a pretty good matchup. And once Brian O'Neill got knocked out of the game, it was different. It was a different game.
Yeah.
Then again, I suppose if you take out the best player on the offensive line, that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think we can agree with that, right? Too. Brian O'Neill's the best offensive lineman we have.
Absolutely.
I think so. Yeah, I'd say that.
Who's after him though? Is it Josh Klein?
TJ Clemmings. TJ. Remember him?
Yeah, I remember him. I remember him very well.
That was a guy.
He was a football player.
He was a guy. He played for the Vikings.
Didn't he play like 3 different offensive line positions too?
You know who TJ Clemmings was? He was the Chris Cook of the offensive line. That's who it was. Not as long as of a tenure, but hey, you know what?
We're a little different of an exit too, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys missed it, we're talking about the divisional playoff matchup. The Vikings, with the stunner last week, upset the Saints in New Orleans, and they traveled to San Francisco. And for a lack of a better term, they got the crap kicked out of them pretty badly.
Pretty wholeheartedly. You know what, though? We were just overmatched by the 49ers.
100%.
That's pretty.
About this loss.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, I don't even really feel too bad after this one. It was like, no, man, like the 49ers are legit. They were the better team. They came in with a better game plan, and they just beat the Vikings.
It's true.
Yeah.
You know what? Before we dissect this game a little bit, we could be Baltimore Ravens fans right now, just be complete, or the Texans. What a collapse! It wasn't that bad, At least we came in with the idea of, we're probably not going to win, but maybe we'll have 2 weeks in a row where we play upset. But we're not the Tennessee Titans,
Who would think that an efficient running game and a solid defense would be a good formula for winning football games?
We need some of that Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. That's what we need.
We need a Derrick Henry offensive line. That's what we need.
How about a Derek Carr?
I'm okay with that. I don't need a Derek Carr.
David Carr?
I don't want any one of those cars. I'll walk.
Adam, which one is the one that's still playing? Is it David or Derek?
Derek.
Derek.
Game ball. Whoever actually added that was Google. I did not come up with that. So
Google.
I stole that. Oh, that's cool. I like that. I'll watch when I get home. Please do. And if you do end up seeing this early in, give us a thumbs up on there, comment, and tell us how you liked it. Yeah, I hate it was predictable too, but let's talk about it though. The Vikings lost 27-10. The biggest deficiency that I saw was the O-line was just overmatched, and Dalvin Cook had 9 attempts for 18 yards. So that was not good.
That'll do it.
Yeah,
that'll do it.
When you can't establish the running game, you can't establish play action.
Right.
The 49ers took away the rollout, so they couldn't buy time doing that. So the Vikings had no answer. And when they kept trying these screens that just weren't happening, what can you do?
I am looking at Kirk Cousins'
comparison
QB
numbers. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kyle.
Sorry, I was looking at Kirk Cousins' QBR, and like you said, Adam, you take away the run game, and then you give Kirk Cousins a 34.0 for a QBR, and that is a
recipe because of that last drive.
Right, and that is a recipe for about 10 points.
For about 10. Yeah, just about.
Yeah, give or take.
The Vikings had 10 rushing attempts on the day for 21 yards. The 49ers ran the ball 47 times for 186 yards. Tevin Coleman got 22 carries, and Raheem Mostert got 12. Matt Breida had 8 carries for 17. He almost matched Dalvin Cook for the day. So,
yeah.
I just say it right now. I don't know who's going to come out from the AFC. I'm very surprised as the rest of the world that the Titans are going to the AFC Championship game. Kudos to them for upsetting the Patriots and the Ravens on the road.
Right.
But this San Francisco team, if they win the Super Bowl, I will not be shocked at all.
No.
Not at all. They are a solid number 1. I hope they beat the living shit out of Green Bay this weekend. But who knows? I think they're going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. It's a super cold take, but they are just nasty all around on the defense. And that running game and their scheme that they have, how do you stop that? It's crazy.
There was a point in this game where the 49ers, there was a scoring drive where they didn't pass the ball once. They just
all runs.
They ran it at the Vikings, and they had fucking success with that.
You know what's interesting? And I want Adam's take on this because I want to see if I took a photo of it just to make sure. I did not, of course. There is an article. I think it's Pro Football Focus. I still have the email up. Pro Football Focus is talking about they're doing mock drafts already, and it said the Vikings were going to take an interior defensive lineman, and they highlighted this game, obviously recency bias, saying that they kind of abandoned that this year, and it was a little weak spot. You don't think about it until you really sit down and highlight it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they went interior defensive line. I think they could go other places.
I'd be a little surprised.
There's going to be so many people missing. I know we're going to talk about that on the show, but
now is that to replace Shamar or Linval, or what are we talking?
I haven't read the article, but I'm thinking maybe the author's thinking Linval might be aging out a little bit, and the Vikings might want to go younger.
Mr. Smith has read this article. That's why I'm curious.
I'll bring it back up because it's in my.
Because I don't know what kind of technique they'd want. Linval Joseph, I thought, had a decent game. And I think that he's had a reasonable season. It wasn't an all-pro season or a Pro Bowl season, but he played solid football.
Yeah, he definitely did.
This is going to change 15 times from now to April, but defensive interior Jordan Elliott from Missouri. Minnesota treated its 3 technique as an afterthought this season, and eventually it burned them as they were gashed by the 49ers.
Boy, I completely disagree with that.
90-plus grade in run defense and as a pass rusher, so he's got a really good grade, which sounds appealing.
Well,
I don't think they ignored that situation at all when they brought back Shamar Stephen.
Adam, we always joke, though, that on these early mock drafts, when they don't know what to do with the Vikings, they always have us going interior defensive line.
They do.
I mean, we've talked about that in the chat many times.
Right.
Corner, it wouldn't be surprised at all. Firebreather brings up a good point, and I've been saying this on the show. I'm not trying to steal your thunder, Firebreather. I like when other people make me feel like I'm not dumb, and you did this here. I don't think that we deserve the beatdown, but we ignored the hell out of the offensive line. I don't think that it's been a point of emphasis. I said this watching the game, that we do a lot of $5 Walmart bin shopping for these guys. I don't like it.
See, Okay, I'll debate you a little bit on that. I don't think we've ignored it. I think the Vikings have tried a lot of different methods to fix the offensive line. A lot of them have not panned out the way they had hoped for. Who was the lineman that we brought in from the 49ers a couple seasons ago?
Boom.
Alex Boone. I mean, okay, they've done a lot of things like that. They tried to bring in Alex Boone. That didn't work out. I think you've seen last year they put a much stronger emphasis on bringing the line, on drafting linemen and stuff. So it's not that they've definitely not ignored it, I don't think.
I'd actually call Josh Klein a pretty decent offensive lineman signing.
Yeah.
But their idea of putting a Band-Aid on the offensive line by drafting Garrett Bradbury and moving Elflein out to guard, that did not fare well this year.
I see what they were doing in concept, and I think we all kind of liked it, but it didn't really pan out the way that you would hope for.
And I'm not ready to throw the towel in on Garrett Bradbury. I think you give him a couple more seasons. He'll keep developing, and he'll do better. He had a really bad season with a couple of games where he graded out as a 0 as a pass blocker. So he's got a lot of work to do. But I'm not ready to throw in the towel on him yet. Pat Elflein, I'm worried about those injuries and the confidence, and he just hasn't looked like himself. I'm still curious that if you can get a really capable left guard in that game, if Riley Reef can start looking like a much more capable left tackle.
I'm worried about the left side of the line. That's where my highlights go. I'm not worried about Bradbury. It's a rookie season. I've seen the ceiling and the floor. I like the ceiling. Like you said, Klein was a great pickup. We love Brian O'Neill. We all agree he's the best one. I'm very worried about the blind side for Kirk Cousins and just how it crumbles. This was the ultimate test, and they looked bad. The left side looked awful. And I get it. When you're San Francisco and you ride that 4-year wave of like 7-9, 6-10, you're going to get these guys that are all just immaculate first-round picks there. And they're going to have problems like the Rams have had this past season keeping people, and they're going to lose people to free agency eventually. You just can't keep all those guys. But, man, I would like to see some Quentin Nelsons along our line. Guys like that just go around and murder people. That's what I'd like to see. I guess that's where I was going with that.
Well, the Vikings are kind of in that kind of situation now where they have to decide which players to move on from, where to get younger, where to save some cap space. It wouldn't be shocking to see players like Riley Reef go if Minnesota can find a good offensive lineman fall in their laps, or even, I hate to say it, but this could be Everson Griffin's final year unless he takes a pretty massive restructure. And I think that they'll go for a restructure rather than a cut on Everson, but yeah, it's going to be different. This Vikings team is not going to be able to just all come back because even right now they're about $5 million under $5 million over the cap, so it's going to get kind of ugly.
Tiffany, remind us in 5 minutes when we'll talk about the other games so we can recap this 49ers game. But, yeah, there's been so many lists that came out. I know that I know at least three of them. There was, I can't think if it was ESPN or if it was Pro Football Focus, but they had a top 50 list. Trey Waynes made the list at like 38. They've highlighted something really crazy about him that I didn't see. They said that his speed wasn't the issue, but I think in his 4 seasons he's given up 16 touchdowns, which is not good. It's not awful, but it's not good. Anthony Harris was number 3 out of 50. Last year he had an 89 rating. This year he has a 91. He's going to be a free agent. He had 7 interceptions, including the postseason this year. He allowed no touchdowns. He's
going to get himself a big time contract.
If Minnesota can't figure out a way to keep him, somebody's going to sign him to a decent. He's going to get paid, which I'm very happy for him.
Yeah.
Now, if he does get paid and Anthony Harris does like he said and goes somewhere else, that leaves the Vikings really short at safety. Even Andrew Sendejo was on his 1-year contract, so they're going to have to find something there because as much as I love Harrison Smith, you got to have a quality or at least capable person next to him.
I think that Harris matches him perfectly. I really do, but if you keep him, there's going to be, like Adam said, there's going to be a handful at potentially of stars that we've known for a while that are going to be gone. And you know what? I think I'm okay with it, honestly, because these guys have been together for 4, 5, 6 years. And I'm not saying that they're over the hill, they're out of their prime, but if you can replace them for a younger, cheaper option with upside, that's the way it works. Mike Zimmer said that in the press conference.
Yeah.
He did. He mentioned that, but
of course, the key to that though is you have to draft or through free agency find capable replacements.
Yep.
That's a way easier said than done.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you. I'm with you there. It's a big risk. It's always 50-50. And then you got to go out in free agency and take a flyer on, like, we re-signed Laquan Treadwell. You got to find a pickup that fits for the team. And that's going to be hard to do. But we're going to have to figure it out because Adam highlighted it already. This team's already over the cap for next year.
And if you ask me to, you also have to look at the offensive side of the ball and go, what do we need to add on that side? You can't just entirely focus on rebuilding the defense either.
Can we shift to that, because it's in my notes here and I want to talk about it. You guys really want to go through the stats of this game? Because
we really don't have to.
Adam already highlighted most of it anyways. Marcus Sherrill for some reason muffed a punt.
He's gone.
Interception. There were no rushing yards. I mean, Stephon Diggs had a nice broken, fluky touchdown play, but that was it.
Yeah.
We didn't even get to close enough to kick field goals in this game. So not the best showing. We kind of knew that was coming, but
so universal game balls, Eric Kendricks, Pat Elflein.
Sure.
I
didn't even have a donkey, but yeah. Eric Kendricks.
About what Kyle was talking about here, and I want to see if people in the chat and if you guys wanted to help, but I told the guys when we were prepping for the show, I immediately started writing down my thoughts of the season, of the game, and things that hit me. And we're going to do the award show either next week or the week after. We have the whole offseason now, and we'll start prep for the Super Bowl and the draft and all that stuff. But 3 biggest takeaways, and I won't spend a lot of time on this, but I'm going to go in order of 3, 2, 1. So here it goes. The thing that I've seen the glaring need, and speaking of Xavier Rhodes, and we're going to lose him, maybe Trey Waynes too. We need cornerback depth, and we need upgrade there. I don't know how you're going to do both, because we're probably going to lose one, if not both of those guys. But we definitely need depth and to upgrade at corner, if at all possible. Number 2 for me was wide receiver depth. We saw that this year, right? The offense was chugging along for, I'd say, week 5 to like week 11, week 12. When Adam Thielen's out for most of the year, the teams are going to double team Stephon Diggs. And I love BC Johnson. I like Chad Beebe. But I miss guys like Jarius Wright. I want somebody who's a little more of an upgrade there, because wide receiver depth is an issue. There's a major drop-off there. And the number one thing for me, this isn't really position-based, but, guys, we went 2-4 in the division this year. You guys realize that, right? Swept again by the Packers, swept by the Bears. We haven't beaten the Bears in 2 years. And that's really bothersome to me, because even though they were 12-4 last year, their defense is great. It's Mitch Trubisky, man. We got to figure out a way not to make that guy look good. So
I don't know.
Back wide receiver, and
I'm not going to count that last loss to the Bears as anything too devastating, especially since all the starters were sitting.
I get it. I mean, I understand that, but even when we played them in week 4, it was no contest. And then last year, beat them and you get in the playoffs, and we couldn't do it. It was frustrating. I just couldn't believe that when I looked over the wins again. I was like, damn, dude, we got swept by both of those teams. Made the postseason, but when you're division, it's a lot different. But those are my 3 biggest takeaways from the season, just in a glance.
One of my biggest takeaways from this season was that when the Vikings play at US Bank Stadium, they're a completely different team. They started out the season 6-0 there. And then after that loss to the Green Bay Packers, that final game again was against the Bears where the starters sat. So again, not putting a lot of stock in that. But this team thrives with its home field advantage. And they have to be able to win more games on the road so they can take a bigger seed in the draft, and so they can, or the bigger seed in the playoffs, and so that they can host games. Because hitting the road, going to the West Coast, going wherever they got to go, that is not this team's strength. That the crowd, they just feed off the crowd, and they have to have that.
Kyle, do you have anything that you collected?
I got my 3 that I wrote down over here in the notes. I kind of did because I always make stuff up when we do these things. I always go. I'm going for this season, the last season that we just had, and a little bit of going into the future is kind of how I split mine up here a little bit too. And so I'm going to start with I think that we as like fans and like the organization and everything, Kirk Cousins doesn't need to be the guy. We don't need to view him as the guy, the missing piece, the final piece, the face of the franchise for the Vikings to succeed and win a Super Bowl. We don't need to have that pressure on him. All you got to do is look at the Tennessee Titans. I mean, you're looking at Ryan Tannehill as their quarterback right now. So we don't need Kirk Cousins to be that guy for us. We just need him to be a part of the team. So I think that we need to kind of like ease up on the every time Kirk Cousins has an errant throw, we're going to shit all over him narrative. We do not need to do that. So I think that that's a takeaway.
Let's be honest, though. This is Dalvin Cook's team. This is not Kirk Cousins' team. When Dalvin Cook gets going, that offense opens up and they can hit on all cylinders.
Correct.
I have yet to see Kirk Cousins use the throwing game to open up the run.
Yeah, it's always the other way.
Point.
When the running game is there, then he'll take a shot. And I'll give him credit to what Kyle was saying. I don't care what anyone says. I'll argue till I'm blue in the face. We all know if you're collective and you watch the game, he overall is a better quarterback than Case Keenum. He's not as mobile as Case was, but as a thrower, most of the time as a decision maker, he's better. But you're right, Adam's point. If the run game starts off awesome and hot, then he'll try to take a shot down the field. But when it comes down to the Russell Wilsons of the world, where it's like, hey, everything's broken down, can you win the game for us? I would never trust him to do that.
Yeah.
Never. And I agree with you. I think that's a great take. I don't think that he needs to be that guy per se by the media and fans, but the argument's always going to be you're getting paid $84 million guaranteed dollars. You kind of need to be that guy. And I think that's where the Vikings messed up.
But look at some of the other contracts that these quarterbacks are going to get.
Yeah.
So
I totally get it, but there's always going to be those naysayers out there that say, well, could have kept Keenum for $17 million a year. I get it.
We can fucking...
Yeah, but are you going to get Minneapolis Miracle Keenum all the time?
No,
but I could get that whole season where he didn't turn the ball over and didn't take sacks, and he had a steady running game just like we have here. I'm not saying that I wanted that. I'm going off of what I know people are going to say and argue. And I like Kirk, I do, but I'm with you. I'm with Kyle on that. He's not the guy that's going to push you over the edge. That's not to say that I want to stand here.
He doesn't need to be.
That's true.
So is this the year the Vikings draft and develop under Cousins?
When you're picking at 25, I doubt it unless they're going to trade up and get somebody. I'm tired.
You don't think Tua's going to fall?
Unless you're going to find a Russell Wilson in the third round.
I think Tua could fall.
He's going to the Dolphins. He's not getting out of the top. I wish. I like him.
Hey, it depends what they say when like NFL teams get a hold of him with that injury.
If the Dolphins are willing to let him sit a year and then they can start, I don't know, Josh Rosen, whoever they end up with, I don't know.
Fitzmagic, baby.
There you go.
Scott Schwab has the answer right here. He's still available. Ponder time, baby.
No ponder time.
No.
Never ponder time.
Never. Let's never speak of that again.
We'll have the whole offseason to talk about the quarterback thing. It's
right.
going to be a never-ending debate. I support whoever the hell the quarterback is. I don't care. As long as it's not Josh Freeman. Fuck that guy. But I support whoever it is. I want them to be successful. I just know, and this is a generic statement based off of like what Adam has said, this team's going to look very different, I believe, at least personnel-wise, from what it looks like right now, what we've been used to. There's going to be changes coming. There's going to be changes coming. I mean, hell, we haven't talked about that yet. A new OC, a new DC. I mean, we could talk about that too.
Possibly a new backup quarterback too. Who knows?
God,
that ties into my next thing that I have down here, where it is like kind of a looking forward sort of thing, where Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman, they need to be bold in 2020. So like you said, okay, we're going to have a new coordinator. We're probably going to have a new defensive coordinator. We've seen what the status quo will do for Minnesota, and then we win a division, we get to a wild card, maybe we can upset a team and we can kind of go out. Okay, like we can keep doing that. We know what the results will be. Or, like you said, Adam, is this the year that maybe we be aggressive and we go after that next young quarterback? Do we trade up and go for a Tua in the draft? Do we do some kind of bold things like that to say, hey, we don't want to just kind of float around what we've been doing. We want to take that next step forward. And to do that, I think that they got to be bold. And my last kind of thought ties in with that is that I think that this is a really critical draft for Rick Spielman, where if we come out and if he lays an egg on this draft and we get us another Laquan Treadwell, who just doesn't pan out for the Vikings, and the rest of the guys, we've seen this from Rick Spielman, where we have a whole bunch of draft picks and then none of them make the team and they're out of the league in a couple more seasons. If we have another draft like that, you really have to look at, is Rick Spielman the answer for the Vikings moving forward? So this is a really, really critical juncture, I think, for Rick Spielman as the Vikings general manager.
It gets even scarier when we start looking at George Payton getting interviews for GM.
Right.
Because I really don't want to see him go. And then you got more problems on the coaching staff. You guys mentioned the OC and the DC. But cornerbacks coach Jerry Gray is also moving on. And his impact on this team is kind of underrated.
Right.
This is another thing, too, just to think about, and I'll be the seesaw for the defense and criticism of Kirk Cousins. This is going to be his, fifth offensive coordinator in 5 seasons? I mean, have a little bit of consistency, man. I mean,
to be fair,
it's not fair.
With Stefanski, though, wasn't the big thing about promoting him is that you're basically keeping the same offense.
Right.
And just kind of tweaking it. So, yeah. Totally fair point. Totally fair point on the switching coordinators out, though. Yep.
I have something that ties directly into what you're saying about being bold. You remember Scott's comment here, too. I have this written in my notes, and it just sets up for a perfect segue. It's a little bit of a reach. That's a lot of a reach. I'm not going to lie, but it's something to talk about. I'm wearing my Dig shirt because I wanted to talk about this. With the drama and the vague stuff that he was saying, he's in his prime right now. If you're over the cap and you want to make a splash, you don't think teams would go after this? Is there any chance in hell that they would think about trading him with all this?
No.
Is this the little stuff that happened this season?
Did you watch the video of him on the sideline? Stephon Diggs, when they said that he was getting in Kirk Cousins' face?
No.
They released the audio of that.
What did he say?
He said, "Don't feel the need to force the ball to me."
Oh,
so yeah, I mean, you got to haul that criticism back a little bit.
Okay.
Like the criticism that Diggs got for that photo where it looked like he was dancing in front of Sean Payton, and then it's like you roll the camera 2 frames forward, and he's shaking his hand, and that was totally not what was going on in the photo. Diggs is very passionate,
and he likes to have fun.
He does too, and we've said all along, Diggs is diva light. He's diva light. I mean, he's got a little bit of that attitude with him. I don't know. I don't think that he is going anywhere in Minnesota. Also, isn't he under contract?
Oh yeah.
Well, that's fair. I know a team would take that contract because he's a phenomenal player. My only reason I bring this up too is you're thinking about trading up. I think about what he might have done that. That's great. But wasn't it a week ago in the Saints game where he's throwing his helmet on the sideline and bitching when he doesn't get what he wants? And then week 4, granted,
he's diva.
He was frustrated for sure.
He's diva.
He is a diva, man. I'm just saying, I don't hate the guy. And he's
what you're saying. I mean, look. Let's say maybe he's not happy, and Rick gets on the phone with Miami and is like, "Hey, we know you guys want Tua, but we want Tua, and we'll send you Stephon Diggs and a whole shitload of stuff, and we'll take him." Do you do it? I don't know.
If you find the guy that you really think is going to transform everything, sure. I don't know. I don't trust left-handed quarterbacks, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. But, I mean, this is the fun stuff about doing a show like this, man. You can speculate and who knows what. I heard that on a national platform, and I wanted to see what your guys' thoughts were.
I am looking forward to doing our draft coverage this year because the Vikings could do so many things. I think this is a very unpredictable year for what the Vikings will do in the draft.
You know how last season they predicted, I know there was an Instagram page, I think it's run by a 12-year-old, but they said they predicted we were going to go 5-11, and it's completely backwards. I think next year is very, 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 very close to being one of those, depending on how everything goes. I mean, I know that's every year, he killed the draft and they had a great season. Man, I just don't know, man. There's just going to be so many changes, and the percentage chance of that going phenomenally or better than it did this year, who knows, man.
Now, Mike Zimmer did take a little bit of time, and he told the media that they're going to step back from football for a little while, collect their thoughts, do a little bit of evaluation before coming together and making decisions on the future, which I think is a good idea.
I like it a lot.
Because this season, this off season, it's really done a number on that whole team, whether it's mentally, physically, whatever. And Mike Zimmer isn't going to be the kind to just go home and kick his feet up either. He's going to be checking out all the players, seeing how they fit in the team. He's going to be working on his notes. There's no doubt about that.
Do you know what I want to see from Mike Zimmer? Smith, I know you'll agree with me on this one. He's kind of like when he became the head coach, he has to bite his tongue a little more than what he would like to. I want to see this be the year where Mike Zimmer is like, we see the Zimmer that was on Hard Knocks and the D coordinator, just the fucking fiery, foul mouth Mike Zimmer that is just like lights a fire underneath this team. And maybe he's like that behind closed doors and like when he's in front of the media.
You can bet that's practice, Mike Zimmer right there.
I want to see more practice Mike Zimmer in front of the media. I want to see him snap at Chris Tomlinson and tell him to fuck off. Like I want to see that Zimmer that just light this team up and just get them
great
going.
Too, even when they were going out, he's like, I can't remember the context exactly, but he was talking to the media and he's like, yeah, we're going to take a while. This is going to be your last press conference for a while. He's like, thank God. He just hates media time. I love that he hates it because it's funny to me, but I'm with you. I guess the other question I had when we're talking about personnel changes is are we going anywhere else besides Gary Kubiak for offensive coordinator? I mean, that's what everybody wants, I'm assuming, but what percentage chance would it be that it's not him?
I'd say 70%.
Oof.
Because I think it's going to be Clint Kubiak.
Oh, I forgot.
Oh, we talked about this in the chat, Adam. Yeah. That's solid.
I think we're going to see Clint Kubiak and Adam Zimmer.
Yep. We talked about Adam Zimmer in our chat earlier. That's true.
Right.
What do you guys think? Maybe a young mind has new ideas and could do something. I like what Zimmer did. I mean, we know he's the godfather of the double A gap. He did some things like the Saints game. He tried it in the 49ers game, changing people around. But I don't know. I think after a while, like they said, the mutual parting of ways with the defensive coordinator, maybe it's a good thing. Who knows? I hate the offseason. I'm just guessing out loud right now.
Stefanski didn't do anything to make me think we got to keep him around.
No, he really didn't. I
liked the installation of the new blocking scheme for the offensive line. That seemed to work pretty well, and that was not a Stefanski thing. I liked some of the rollout plays that were installed, and those weren't really a Stefanski thing.
Yep.
The play calling at many times was just either conservative or predictable.
Or, like we talked about, there were some critical times where the Vikings tried some bullshit on offense in terms of trick plays and other stuff.
If I have to see Stephon Diggs running with the ball, holding it out like this, like he's going to throw, I'm going to have a heart attack.
Yeah, right.
We can scratch that out every time. I don't want him throwing the ball. I don't want Kirk trying to run and catch a ball. Ugh. No, just don't do that.
We don't need the mini special. That's not something that needs to be in the playbook.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. I agree with you, Adam. I really don't. What was Cleveland like? Pat McAfee was talking about this too. And
Cleveland does what Cleveland. I swear to God, anytime I get mad about this team, I think about that franchise. They are so bad at everything. Right. And what's crazy is they had options. You let Ron Rivera go. You let Mike McCarthy go. You could even got the sexy college guy the Matt Rule or whoever.
Right.
You decided between the loser of the Vikings and the 49ers. I would have took the DC from the 49ers over Kevin Stefanski, and I like Stefanski.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going for the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. I'm seeing if I can do that. Like, I mean, I don't.
There's plenty of other options. And
I-
got this, and the media said it, but I'm just repeating it. But
Right.
there was nothing that you looked at his body of work to say, man, I got to have that guy.
Carl West is right.
That's
I
the guy
can't believe
that
a team hasn't looked at Eric
right
Bieniemy
now. And what's
for a
crazy
head coach.
is they wanted him last year.
Wasn't he with the Vikings at one point, Adam?
Yeah,
Eric Bieniemy was our running back coach, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe that he is not getting looks from all these teams.
Don't get it twisted.
I also am glad that there's not a lot of attention around him because he's still playing football, and I don't think teams should be able to attempt to poach coaches that are still playing meaningful football.
I hate that.
Yeah, we've talked about that before too. I don't. At the end of the regular season, if you want to fire your coach, by all means, fire your coach. But I don't think any team should be able to hire a coach until a week after the Super Bowl, because isn't it annoying that like you want to watch ESPN to hear about the playoffs, and instead you're hearing about the Dallas Cowboys and what they're doing at their head coaching position.
Old Juris got to get his prime time spot.
Once you stay at Jerry's house, you don't leave.
But we have all off season. We have all off season to talk about this. And the playoffs are only a really short window, but instead of talking about the playoffs, we're talking about Cleveland. Or we're right. I don't, as a football fan, I don't like that.
That's true.
They need to spread out that marketing. I get that they need to talk about the high profile openings, the big market teams, but wouldn't they make more money too if those conversations were happening when the playoffs weren't going on?
Yes.
Right. Because doesn't it keep the NFL more relevant in the off season if we're talking about all these big moves after the Super Bowl instead of cramming it all in right now?
I think it would just make those lull weeks a little smoother because we all know, when the Super Bowl's over, then it's going to be March Madness, and then baseball's going to start, the NBA season, and the hockey season's going to get going, and then we have that filler and until we get to the draft because we got to get our football fix. But if this was a little bit past the Super Bowl, like you mentioned, it's probably a little farther away from the draft now you think about the timeline, but it's a nice little chunk of change, and it's just like the free agency deadline. You know how we're all like, oh my god, or the start of the new season where we're like,
ESPN has turned the free agency deadline into a big production.
That would be crazy.
Cool.
And hey, I mean, look, we all love mock drafts and we love the gear up for the draft, but it also reaches a point where when we actually get to the draft, you're like, holy shit, I never want to read another mock draft again because we beat it into the ground. It absolutely gets beat into the ground because there's no other stories.
I love the mock drafts at the Viking age. They're real good.
Oh, they're fun to read, but man, by the time you get close to it, it's just like, I'm tired of hearing everyone's opinion on it.
I forget. No, I'm not going to say that. Adam knows what I was going to talk about. We're not going to talk about that.
Now, the Vikings have the number 25 pick, right?
I think so.
Which that's not too bad of a place to pick, considering where they landed in the postseason. I think they got the earliest pick of those eliminated in the divisional round, so they should still be able to get a really quality player there. And as always, I enjoy watching the draft. I love just the whole energy of the event, and I'm just excited to see what direction this team's going to go because I don't think they're going to tip their hand at all. I think that if they are going to cut a player, it won't be until after the draft when they draft someone who they hope to replace. I'm expecting a lot of no Vikings news for a while, which is not good for the podcast, but I think that's what we're looking at.
I think you're right, Adam. I think it's going to be some media silence from the team, just going on what Zimmer has said, and especially if you're looking at them kind of keeping the coordinator positions in-house. So if you really are promoting Clint Kubiak and Adam Zimmer, that's kind of a quiet thing that happens. And, oh, hey, we just announce it on their website one day. And then that's it. That's it. There's not really a big to-do about it. So
I mean, they
know
still got to
we're
replace some
looking into the
positional
2020
coaches, but
season, but thinking about if this turns into a big shitstorm and a dumpster fire, correct me if I'm wrong, Adam. I know you're the go-to for this, but this is Zimmer, Spielman, and up until he gets a new contract, Kirk Cousins' last kind of deal together, right? They have 1 year left, all three of them.
could be.
I believe so. Yeah.
Let's hope that doesn't happen because we don't want to suffer through one of those 5-11 seasons. But could be really, really bad a year from right now when we're talking about this team.
I just don't see the Wilf family moving on from either Spielman or Zimmer.
I don't know how you can move on from Mike Zimmer. He's got a very good track record in defense, but I'm with Kyle. I think that they could go the different direction at general manager. I don't know what the hell is going to happen with Kirk Cousins. The most Minnesota thing they could do is give him an extension. That's probably what's going to happen.
That's the thing, though, is that if you get rid of your general manager, most general managers, what do they want to do? They want to come in and have a complete fresh start with a team.
Exactly.
And that makes it difficult if you want to keep Mike, because I want to keep Mike Zimmer too. I don't want the team to have to move on from him.
This is a good little note to put up for everyone to read. Vikings webpage announced Vikings aim for offensive continuity despite coordinator change. Kubiak's. Yeah, the Kubiak's aren't going anywhere. I think what Adam said was I thought that Gary would be taking over. It sounds like Clint could be the front runner, which is cool. I forgot about Clint, honestly.
That makes sense
like
to me.
In the family.
Right. You give it to Clint, but he's got his dad to mentor him and to make sure that things go smoothly in the transition to the through.
I mean,
the
Gary's
off-season
still
and
an
stuff.
Offensive specialist consultant or something like that, right?
I think that thinking about it too, because he won the Super Bowl with Denver and Peyton Manning's noodle arm that year a couple years ago. You got to think about he stepped away for health reasons. Maybe this is exactly where he wants to be. Maybe he doesn't want that.
I don't think he does.
No, I don't think he does either. I think he wants that special title. He doesn't really want that. And working with his son, seeing his son get promoted and working with that'd be great.
That's got to be pretty filling.
And if Gary can sit up in the booth and have like the overhead view of it and occasionally page down to his kid and be like, hey, I would run this play right now. I mean, seriously,
it's one of those situations definitely where you can have your cake and eat it too, because he doesn't have to get the blame and he doesn't have the responsibility, but he can put his imprint on things. That makes a lot more sense saying it out loud now. That's funny.
But yeah, those positional coaches fillings, they're going to have to really search out some talented players if they do end up filling from within.
Are we fine with
quarterback coach would be tough. New corner coach. It's a tough market out there to find those young talented guys that are going to move up and try to stay in an organization. So, best of luck.
Are we fine with our special teams coach? You guys have any beef with special teams this year?
I have no beef with special teams. I want everyone to stay.
My beef with special teams is that the key players that they brought in to fix things are both free agents.
We were just talking about that in the chat.
That's my beef.
Is that a Rick Spielman thing, though?
The number one priority for this team has to be bringing back Britton Colquitt.
Oh, yeah.
That's got to be number one. Because after this team spent 2 years finding a guy who can hold a football, you can't let him go. That, and I think he had didn't he have no touchbacks this season?
One in the postseason.
Right, one in the postseason, 0 in the regular season.
0 in regular season, if I remember correctly. I think they got to bring back Dan Bailey too. I'm pretty happy with that combination of Dan Bailey and.
Well, remember the first year he came, we were bitching about it. We're like, "Oh, he sucks after he was hurt," and then Adam pointed out right away. He's like, "No, we got to get a new holder."
Yeah,
there hasn't been anything wrong with him since.
You like how I was uploading photos of the holds and how crooked they were.
Hey,
I was sending them to you guys
because I didn't know that. I wouldn't have noticed it. Because, and that's the other thing too, with all the kicking woes that have happened all the NFL, there's just like it's something in the water where the kickers are retarded now, and they just like we can't do it anymore.
And if you're on social media, it's always the kicker. It's never the snap was off or the hold was crooked or It's always the kicker. Always.
Every time.
I do know one of the very few people, and you guys don't like him, but I still follow Chris Cluey on social media, and he's one of the few people, with him being a punter, that talks a lot about how important and critical it is to get that hold down correctly.
I can appreciate that, even though he's not cool at all. He's no Pat McAfee, but that's fine.
I know I was probably boring the heck out of some of our listeners talking about holds over the last couple of years, and I hope I never have to do it again.
I hope that you have to do it all the time because I want to hear more about holding. That's what we're here to do.
Now, I also kind of hate that the Vikings are in a situation where if they use a draft pick on a kicker, fans are going to revolt.
Oh, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be pissed.
Because they got aggressive. They moved up to get a kicker.
Mind.
And then they cut that kicker before he even really has a chance to prove himself when the kicker wasn't even really the problem.
Oof.
And now, like, drafting a kicker is ruined forever.
I mean, at least for this, or at least for this management, yeah, absolutely.
For at least the next 10 years.
So if the Vikings do move on from a kicker, they're going to have to go to free agency or an undrafted free agent. And
not only that, not only the drafting of Daniel Carlson, but the trading the draft pick for the guy from the Ravens that ended up fucking sucking.
I forgot about
Corey Vedvik.
Oh, jeez.
Corey Vedvik. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think we were going to talk about any of this.
So, yeah, they can't trade for a kicker. They can't draft a kicker. They can't go out and get a high-priced free agent. Can't afford it.
Oh, God.
They're stuck in a situation where they got to talk Dan Bailey down to, like, the smallest contract ever.
Yeah.
Or they're going to have to grab an undrafted free agent.
Or they just got to be like, we got to take one for the team, and no one's going to be happy with whatever we do. So, sorry, social media.
I got the solution right here. You just go for it the entire year. You're going to set a record either way. Let's go for it. We don't have a kicker. We're not kicking any field goals. XFL, baby. Let's go.
We're XFL style.
Isn't Ocho Cinco trying out?
He is.
See?
It was going to be a kicker.
What's he playing? Oh, God. I didn't mean anything that I just said just now. I'm sorry.
It's just
not about this season.
We keep giving examples as to how
I'm going to stress out over this team.
This offseason is going to be so unpredictable and so telling of what the priorities of this team are going to be going forward. And honestly, I don't envy them one bit because no matter what direction they go, if they draft a corner in the first round, everybody's going to be mad. Oh, you ignored the offensive line. If they draft an offensive lineman and they have to end up letting both Alexander and, Trey Waynes go, then they're going to be, oh, well, you're ignoring the defense. And Mike Zimmer's not going to have his toys and all this stuff. And
there's going to be veterans that are going to go that people are going to be mad about, whether it be Everson Griffin or Kyle Rudolph, or something is going to happen with Xavier Rhodes. People are going to be pissed off whether or not Xavier Rhodes is back, or people are going to be pissed if he gets cut. Like, I do not envy the Vikings social media manager.
I'm not worried about the Xavier Rhodes thing because we can go to 7-Eleven in Mankato and get a cover 2 corner anytime we want. So,
well, we're not in Mankato anymore.
That's fine. We'll Uber there.
It's worth the drive.
It's worth the drive.
Tiffany, we told you we talk about this. Let's recap the other games. I guess we can start trying to head the exit for this show. But if you guys missed it, Tiffany's highlighting the Chiefs and the Texans game. It was at one point.
What the hell, Texans?
The first quarter, wasn't it 24-0? The Chiefs were absolutely pooping in their hand and wiping it all over their face. I don't know what happened. And then Patrick Mahomes and the offense they woke up.
Hey, it turns out Patrick Mahomes is pretty good, and Andy Reid is one hell of a head coach.
It's crazy. Here's the stat that blew my mind because this has never happened to my knowledge. So they're down 24-0, the Chiefs at home to the Texans. For the rest of the game, they outscored the Texans 51-7. They scored 24, 28 points in 14 minutes? Was it?
That's how good that offense is.
Holy crap, man.
I don't know, dude.
The craziest game, and you got to think about it too. This is how good Patrick Mahomes is. Remember that game last year we couldn't stop talking about where they lost to the Rams? It was like 54-51.
Oh yeah,
that kid's special, man. Thanks for bringing that up, Tiffany. That was a cool game. If you guys missed it, Chiefs are hosting the Titans in the AFC Championship game because the Titans went into Baltimore and bullied the shit out of the Ravens. It was crazy. Ryan Tannehill,
the Ravens,
amazing.
The Ravens were my Super Bowl pick. And
yeah, me too.
I mean, and that's not even a bold take. Like, I think everyone had Baltimore in the Super Bowl.
Going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Titans.
My preseason was KC Green Bay
defense. They bottled up Lamar Jackson. Ryan Tannehill made 2 back-to-back touchdown throws that were the prettiest things I've seen as far as ball placement by anybody all year. I couldn't believe it. So, which would be ironic because if they go in and stun the Chiefs, they'll be a 6th seed, much like the Giants a couple years ago, to go on the road and upset everyone. And guess where they're playing the Super Bowl at? Friggin' Miami. How funny would that be?
What do you guys think? Does some team give Ryan Tannehill some huge overinflated contract?
No, and then Tennessee locks him up without a doubt.
And then when he gets there or he stays in Tennessee, oh, that's right, he's Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, he's going to Brock Osweiler some team.
Yep.
Oh, totally. That's totally going to happen.
Brock Lobster. Yeah.
Can we have a moment of silence for him?
I don't feel he's alive. Whoever his agent was, they were having drinks with Sam Bradford's agent. Good for him.
Is it the same agent? Do they share the same agent? Because that would be awesome.
It's possible.
Yeah, and then obviously that was the AFC side. The Seahawks and the Packers had a pretty good game. Russell Wilson and everybody made it interesting. The Packers ultimately won, thanks to Aaron Jones. I mean, good God. I've never seen Aaron Rodgers look this pedestrian before. I think they're going to have a rough time in San Francisco this weekend, but they made it to the title game again. But
you know, think Green Bay will be able to run against San Fran?
10 years, getting to the title game and just getting schlacked. So I'm all for it. I'm there to see that.
You think Green Bay can run against San Fran?
I don't know.
Even if they run, I don't think they can pass against them. I don't see it happening. They don't have any good receivers. Adams will get shut down by Sherman, and you know, trust who was it? Lazard is his name, Alan Lazard, to go out there and win you the game. I don't think so. And then Aaron Rodgers. I hate to say it because I respect the hell out of the guy. He's one of the best guys I've ever seen. He holds on to the ball too damn long. He's not going to have that option this weekend. It's not going to happen. That'll be even more shocking to me if Green Bay beats them, even if the Titans were to upset the Chiefs. If Green Bay walks out and makes it to the Super Bowl against that team, I will be completely stunned. I don't know.
Can you highlight Scott's comment? That's highlighted for using the word tutelage. That
is that the proper spelling of that? I'm in college and I don't know. I've never used tutelage.
Nope, that's not a word that I'm familiar with.
I would tutelage.
I'll say it, but I don't write it.
Right. That may be the first time I've seen it written down as well, too. Where's Leslie Frazier? Wasn't that a Leslie Frazier word?
It might have been.
I don't know. I'll have to go back and check the tape.
I was going to make that same joke, but you beat me to it.
I gotta admit, I'm glad that Zimmer isn't always saying he's going to go back and check the tape. I'm also so glad that Mike Zimmer came out after that game and just absolutely said that hit on his offensive lineman Brian O'Neill was cheap because it was.
Yeah.
Well, we made it through another season, guys.
So, Super Bowl predictions, who's playing? What do you think?
The Chiefs and the 49ers.
Tim Tebow and the 85 Chicago Bears.
Bears.
I still get that feeling like we're going to see that repeat of Super Bowl I.
They would be the State Farm Bowl. I mean,
it would be the State Farm Bowl. It would be something for the NFL to hang their hat on. I don't want to say that the NFL is like rigged or anything like that, but boy, you got to think the NFL is pushing for and really wants to see Kansas City and Green Bay.
I mean, I don't want to see it happen because I don't think that I want to see the two best teams. Even though I do root for chaos, don't get me wrong. Watching the Titans upset the Pats and the Ravens has been phenomenal. But I just want to see the two best teams. And Green Bay going to the Super Bowl, I don't think they deserve it. I don't. But it could. I mean, who knows, man? I don't know. I've seen weirder things happen. I mean, the Ravens went, or was it the Browns? They went to Baltimore this year and beat the Ravens. I mean, I've seen weirder things.
Yeah.
The Titans are in the AFC Championship game. Of course, I've seen weirder things this year.
The Titans managed that perfectly. They forced the Ravens to win by throwing the football. And once that happened, it just was a completely different game.
And think about it too,
combining that
in playoff football for an extra week because they had to win in week 17 to get in.
Yeah, they did.
And you know what, man? I thought the Titans were stupid by hiring Mike Vrabel as their head coach. Didn't you guys?
No.
I did. I thought, what the hell? Like, what? But man, that sure is working out for him.
The thing that I remember the most about them this year, though, it was after week 1. Do you remember all the hype that the Browns were going to the Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah.
Eric Henry and everybody came out and they said, y'all just talked all that shit and y'all just hyped this team up. It's like, they are who we thought they were. I was like, God damn.
I will say, I did poop really all over Matt Patricia.
Class like that, but here we are.
You did, Adam.
I can't believe it. I can't believe they're in the championship.
I did. I pooped all over the Matt Patricia hiring. I did.
Yeah. I mean, any guy who still walks around with a pencil in his ear when you
uses pencils.
When you use an iPad, when everything or the Microsoft Surface Pro, but it's like, what are you writing on? What?
Even the Taco Bell menus that they walk around with are laminated.
They're laminated.
Dude, you stole the joke right out. I was like, Andy Reid's got the Waffle House menu, but it's laminated. What is
or they pull out whiteboards. Like, I don't understand what he's doing with a pencil.
Maybe he's just one of those old school frat guys that like to carry a cigarette behind his ear, you know?
Maybe. I don't know.
I used to have some friends that would do that back in the day, and that was something. Just have it ready to go, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we made it through another season, guys.
So, 2 more quick questions.
Uh-oh.
Luke Kuechly retiring. How surprised were you?
Man,
fairly.
You could see the pain in that guy's eyes. He did not want to let it go. I feel awful for him, but I'm super proud of him for recognizing it.
Yeah, that's got to be such a hard decision to make.
Me being from Charlotte, I can tell you that, Cam Newton's the face, per se, Christian McCaffrey, but that dude was the heart and soul. Everybody in that town adores that guy, 110%. So, I mean, if you're Matt Rule, you got to be pretty pissed off, right? You're like, what the hell? My best defensive player leaves a week after I signed, but he's had 7 concussions in 7 seasons.
So number 2,
7 concussions in 7 or 8 seasons. So good for him for recognizing that that'll make you old real quick.
Oh, yes. Number 2, a linebacker is removed from the Pro Bowl roster, and the replacement is not Eric Kendricks. What do you think?
Biggest snub of the year.
Bullshit. But it's also the Pro Bowl, so who cares?
Snub of the year, but
you can tell he cares. Yeah. You can tell it bothers him. Because when he got to talk about being named first team All-Pro, he was all smiles, and you could tell that when they asked him how he felt about not being in the Pro Bowl, to play with his friends, he didn't like that too much.
Yeah.
So I sent this to the guys, for you guys in the chat. I sent this to Adam and Kyle earlier, and they had each position, and they had the best overall, the best rookie, and the biggest surprise. Best linebacker overall, Eric Kendricks, Minnesota Vikings, grade 90.5. I'll read this from ESPN. A quiet nomination for overall defensive player of the year. Kendricks quite literally did it all for Minnesota. He led linebackers in overall grade thanks to his efforts in coverage, run defense, and shore tackling. He missed 9 of 121 total tackle attempts. He allowed no catch longer than 32 yards, 36 total stops, 12 pass breakups, 17 pressures while he blitzed. What? That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
He fell to the second round. What?
For Scott Schwab's question, he wanted to know if Super Bowl's ever been hosted at Lambeau. Wasn't it at Lambeau the first 2 years?
Oh God,
Because I know at least the Ice Bowl was.
I remember wasn't the first two Super Bowls were the same, right? It was Green Bay and Kansas City, correct?
I believe so, yeah. And I think
I
I know at least the Ice Bowl was, so I know there was at least one.
It's a good question.
Let me hop in my DeLorean. I'll go check.
Appreciate it, sir. Man.
Oh, I was gonna go with the "I love you, man" reference on that one, but yeah, I think I'm gonna keep my language a little clean.
Hey, we crossed the hour mark. Anything goes at this point.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a little disappointed of the recognition that the Vikings defense didn't get. Pro Football Focus, of course, with their metrics, they can't really ignore the really good season that the Vikings safeties had. And when they announced their, all NFL team and the safeties were both Minnesota safeties, it's just not really that surprising that the Vikings secondary there was so good. And then you look at the season, the way it played out, and you saw the corners getting picked on a bit. And it makes you wonder, with these safeties playing at such a high level, how didn't their help and support help out the cornerback play when Daniil Hunter was just having a monster year? Ifeadi Odenigbo was stepping up. I won't say that Everson Griffin took a step back, but he didn't really seem like the Everson Griffin that we all know. So I don't know.
I'd love to hear like Zimmer or someone of that great of a mind explain it to the common folk like myself of why, like what you said, with the two safeties being so great, how did the corners play so bad that they couldn't have counterbalanced it? That's a great question. I would love to hear that explained.
Now, if they were dealing with a foot injury or something was slowing them down, I get it. But I don't know. It doesn't feel right that you could have so many defenders playing at such high levels and yet have the defense slip the way it did. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the Vikings defense was bad. They just weren't up as good as they were previous years, especially on third down.
I know that when I watched the game Saturday that they highlighted that the Vikings they were in top 5 in a couple categories yet again. So
yeah,
I mean they were pretty good overall. We know where the weaknesses were, but I mean overall that's a bend don't break, pretty stout defense still.
Now I've already said I like Mike Hughes, but so far he hasn't been able to play a complete season.
Mm-hmm.
I like Holton Hill, but he's been known to make some mistakes in his life.
Also a little crazy.
I like him. I think we'll see him back.
I've shared my love for Mackenzie Alexander. I hope that he slips under the radar for other teams and he doesn't land a big deal somewhere else. So I'm hoping they can bring him back. And I've never really kind of disguised that I like Trey Waynes for his tackling ability.
Mm-hmm.
He's a decent corner, solid corner, and his ability to play the run is somewhere close to the best in the league. So I don't know what Minnesota's going to do at corner. I don't know how they're going to fix their problems on the interior of their offensive line. I don't know how they're going to be able to free up some salary cap to be able to sign even their draft class or whatever handful of cheap players they need. I just am still kind of stunned at where this team is now and where they have to go moving forward. And those deals that they did to try to cram every penny in to be able to get Barr and to keep Kyle Rudolph around, those deals are kind of hurting right now.
It's going to be a boring offseason, man. People are going to be pissed when free agency comes and goes and the Vikings don't do anything in the first wave. Because they can't, and they don't do anything in the second wave. And people are going to see some big name guys depart with big
The casual fans who don't understand the salary cap are going to be those are going to be the guys that are the loudest on all those Facebook posts.
It's going to look like the Vikings didn't do anything and lost a bunch of talent.
It is.
Yeah.
And sadly, it might actually be that way.
I said my best friend, watched the game with me over the weekend. And that last drive of the game where they were doing all the hurry up and the quick, 5-yard in and outs.
Yeah.
Those are going to be those ignorant dumbass fans who say, "Why did you do this the whole game?" It's the same guys that are going to say all that about the draft. It is what it is, man. But we know what's coming. You can get that here right on the show. We'll let you know what's going to come ahead of time, so you're not shocked by it.
If you like lukewarm takes, we got them here for you.
They're all
they're as Luke as can be. That's Adam Lukewarm Carlson.
We got one guy that every time we released a hot takes for the upcoming game or bold predictions for the upcoming game, he always would comment and be like, "These aren't bold." And it was every week he was always saying that they aren't bold. But when you want to be accurate and get your take right, and you still kind of want to spice it up a little bit, you can't go too crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Because sure, you can put together hot takes, but they won't be close.
Remember the old Vikings group we were in, Adam, back in Facebook?
Oh,
we
yeah.
We had the one guy who used to message us with the craziest shit that would be like, the Vikings need to trade Jared Allen and Kevin Williams and Pat Williams, and they need to sign blah, 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 and get a first-round draft pick. Do you think that's possible?
Tom used to have the craziest.
And you'd just be like, no, not only is it not possible, I don't even know how you came up with it.
And I like that his mind was always thinking.
Right?
He was coming up with the most interesting scenarios that I would have never, ever come up with.
But I know what you're talking about, where it's like, well, you're trying to represent your Viking Age website. So when you write a bold take, it has to be within the realm of, like, a possible thing that you think is going to happen. Yeah. Yep, and that's what I respect about when you write, is that you don't just are like, and the Vikings are going to play Anthony Barr at running back this week. That's my bold take, because he did it in college, and the 49ers won't see it coming. Like, okay, that's bold. That's definitely bold, sir.
Yeah, you want to put out quality content, and you want it to be interesting and engaging, but you don't want to go too far into skip territory and
right.
end up where you're just saying things for saying things.
Here's a good ending to the show. There it is, guys. This is how you know the tide is turning and the sun's finally setting.
It's true.
Yeah. Moment of silence for Marcus Sherrills.
Yeah, moment of silence for him and that awful muff punt that he had.
I will say that I think that we will see Amir Abdullah back.
Yeah.
I don't hate it.
I don't love it, but I don't hate it.
I mean, I'm certainly, like you said, not in love with it, but depth, question mark?
Because he turned out to be a better running back than I thought he was going to be. I'd rather just have someone there in the end zone to take a knee every kickoff, but
turns out you just had to get the Detroit out of him.
Oh, jeez.
Fantastic.
Well, I do want to thank everyone who tuned in and listened, and especially everyone who joined us in the chat. It was nice to have some conversation, some ideas, some comments over there for us to
fun
work
closure.
Yeah, this could have been a really down show. I mean, we could have urinated all over this team and its future if we wanted to, but I don't
not what we do.
Think that's the right route to take, because there's still so much talent on this roster, and this offseason is going to be really interesting. So hopefully we can all just kind of cross our fingers and hope that the Vikings can make some strides.
Not Antoine Winfield, but Antoine Winfield Jr. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
He's a hell of a player.
Yeah.
Seen him play a couple times this year. He's great. Tiffany, I love that box wine and that fancy cheese. Please and thank you. I'll take 2.
I'll take some unsweetened iced tea and some cheap block cheddar.
Unsweetened tea. That's oh God, that's blasphemy.
Not any of that disgusting Southern sweet tea stuff.
I'll hang up the show right now.
It's just
I'll hang it up right now.
Yuck.
I bet Kirk Cousins drinks unsweetened tea.
Oh.
He should. It's good.
None of that sweetener for me. Oh no. Not in this cousin's household.
I have a feeling that I'm supposed to promote the Viking Age, but I feel like I've already done that a couple times this
I'm
episode.
just gonna leave it there. That's the website you guys should check out.
Over on the Viking Age, I got some work. I got a article coming out soon within the next couple days where I'll be ranking all of the unrestricted free agents and level of their importance to be re-signed by the Vikings. So keep your eye open for that because that's going to be one of my bigger articles.
To be a long list, right? Because we got a.
Well, I'm only keeping them. I'm stopping at 11 because there are some free agents that I just feel like.
At 11. Wow.
There's some free
agents. I
agents.
just feel like, no, that's okay.
There's some free agents that you're like, fuck that guy.
Alexander Hollins, yeah.
Yeah. Who?
Maybe not.
No.
But yeah, we've always got great content coming out over there. We got a great staff. As a matter of fact, we just brought on a new writer over there on the Viking Age. So we should have even more great opinions, takes, and hopefully just pieces to interact with for you. And if you enjoy something on the Viking Age or even Undead Walking, where I talk about the Walking Dead, please feel free to share it with your friends, comment on it, because any interaction like that just absolutely helps me, and it helps put a couple extra bucks in my wallet. So I really do appreciate all you guys. I know that the podcast here, we don't run ads. We don't have promotions or anything like that we ask you guys for our money. So this is just a passion project for us, and we do appreciate you guys tuning in. But if you do want to support us, you can support me by just checking out those websites.
I see it is my turn to talk.
Sorry, I'm tired.
Hey, you know what, man? I don't even know why we're still here after an hour and 11 minutes, but we are, and you should buy a t-shirt to support this madness. Over on my website, phantasmdigital.com. I have also been adding a whole bunch of photos from a shoot that I did earlier in the season. So check that out. I still have a design from like 6 months that I need to do that because it's a cooler logo that I think you guys might like. But yeah, you should definitely check that out. You can find. I sound so motivated to talk about my own stuff, don't I? You can find that over on our Facebook page. There's a link in I think it's the pinned post.
Yeah,
up on the top. You can do that. So you should.
Yeah. You can not only get podcast stuff there, you can get some decor for your home, some great gifts, mugs, shower curtains, pillows, whatever. Lots of good fun stuff. So we'll be back next week. Not sure if we're going to do our awards show next week or what we're going to do, but
I think we should do awards.
But we'll be back next week. We're going to talk about some Viking stuff, so that's the plan. And we hope that you guys can join us here. We might get a little bit more loose with our scheduling going forward, and we're still going to try to do every week as we usually do, but
yeah,
sometimes it might be a couple extra days in between, but we'll still be here. We'll still be around. Don't worry. We don't shut down during the off season, and we don't
send harassing messages to our fans that get us kicked off every platform that we're on.
Nope, I have not done that.
We haven't done that over the 7 years we've been here, so we'll still keep it trucking.
Yeah, we've outlived a lot of Vikings podcasts, and we just keep going. And I know that we're not the most popular. I know that we're not the wittiest on social media, and I know that, heck, we're probably not the one that you would share with your friends if you had the first opportunity. But we do consider all you guys that join us here in the chat to be our friends, and it's so great to talk with like-minded football fans, especially those that love the purple and gold. And
it's like a little bar. We have our regulars that come in every weekend, and we appreciate you guys. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. On that note, once again, thank you for everything, and stay classy, Minnesota.